Billions of years ago, the galaxy was divided into sectors and each had its own protector or recruit, the Guardian of the Green Lantern. One of these recruits, Abin Sur, captured and sent the evil Parallax to an empty planet, but he managed to escape and wound Abin Sur. The recruit's ship crashed on Earth. Hal Jordan, a hereditary pilot. The guy is great at his job, but irresponsibility keeps him from getting ahead in life. Hal's ex-girlfriend Carol constantly convinces her father not to throw the guy off the job, but she also fights with her buddy over his constant tardiness and overly frivolous behavior, just like the others. A new airplane arrives at the flight base that is famous for its intelligence. As the manufacturer claims, the machine can perform all the functions of a live pilot, but the company must see the plane in action before it can sign a contract. Hal is late for duty again, and changing clothes on the fly, he listens to Carol's lectures on the matter, responding only with barbed jokes to her. The test team sits at the controls, speeding the planes up to breakneck speeds. At first, everything goes great and Hal shows off his aerobatics, but after a few minutes of flying, the guy's plane starts to lose altitude and goes into a spin. Jordan could have leveled the plane and corrected the situation, but he catches sight of his father's picture and remembers the day his old man crashed right in front of him. The seconds wasted on the memory play a cruel joke on Hal he manages to eject, but the brand new powerful plane goes down and crashes to the ground. Jordan is summoned to the carpet and his superiors even announce his dismissal, but Carol once again asks that his buddy be given a chance and suspend him until all the circumstances are clarified. The incident at the airfield is trumpeted on all channels, and when Hal arrives for his nephew's birthday, his brothers tell him how much they were worried about him. It seems to the relatives that Jordan wants to be like his father so much that he's ready to die as a hero right now. After spending some time at the children's party, Hal is about to leave, but no sooner does he get to his car than an unknown green glow lifts him high up and carries him off in an unknown direction. Jordan lands on the shore and notices a strange flying object nearby, inside which sits a creature that remotely resembles a man, but with a very piercing look. Hal takes out the wounded alien and laying him on the sand asks him not to die, promising to do everything to help him. The creature realizes that he has very little time left, and introducing himself as Abin Sur, he hands the boy a ring and says that he has chosen a pilot, and this is a great honor and responsibility, so Hal must follow some instructions. The jewelry should be inserted into the green lamp which was left in the ship and to make an oath. Abin Sur doesn't have time to say anything more understandable, letting out his last breath. Hal calls his buddy Thomas and asks him to come to the crash site. He tells him about the ship and the pilot he buried, and shows him the lantern and the ring. They had no time to examine the ship carefully. Government helicopters have already flown to the spot, and the friends try to leave as quickly as possible to avoid getting into an unpleasant situation. In the car, Thomas inspects the lantern and accidentally clicks on something. At that moment, everything lights up green and the car skids hard. Somewhere on another planet, Sinestro, the leader of the recruits, reports to the guards that Abin Sur is dead and the great light has left the universe. 4 other Green Lanterns have also been destroyed, and the populations of 2 worlds have been exterminated. All of this is the work of an unknown evil that wields the yellow power of fear. Sinestro asks permission to gather his best recruits and go out to fight the enemy, to which the Chief Guardian nods approvingly. Weird scientist Hector Hammond spends another lonely evening in the company of chess on a computer monitor and a can of canned food. Neither the first nor the second bell on the door bothers the man, but when the visitors start pounding, he reluctantly opens. The doctor is taken to a government office where he is shown the found ship and the body of Abin Sur. Seeing the alien in the glass sarcophagus, the scientist expresses real emotion for the first time in years. Hammond's task is to examine the body and examine it closely. The doctor carefully examines the alien, but when he runs his hand into the open wound, something yellow seems to bite his finger and climb inside. Hector does not talk about what happened, but only reports the results of the examination. At the same time, coming home, Hal is trying to remember a single oath he learned at school camp. But suddenly the lantern turns a bright green light, and Hal, as if in a trance, utters the right words, which he has never heard before. Carol goes to her buddy's apartment to talk about the airfield incident, but he won't let her in and invites her out for a drink. The pair have a great evening discussing their relationship, and only when Carol returns to fly, Hal is abruptly about to leave. Outside Jordan's car, his former coworkers are ambushed by his former coworkers who have had some serious problems because of a plane crash. Wasting no time with words, they harshly deal with Hal and leave him lying on the ground going to leave. Only without knowing why, Hal gets up and proposes to the guys to repeat the duel. With a wave of his hand, the guy flashes a streak of green light and easily scatters his attackers through the brick walls. A green blob begins to gather around Jordan and turns into a ball and carries the boy upward again this time. First it rises above the houses, then approaches the clouds and rises higher and higher. And while Hal is flying, something strange is also happening in the scientist's apartment. He is suffering from nightmares and sweating. And when Hector finally manages to wake up and go to the mirror to wash his face, he sees that his eyes are filled with yellow light. Hal wakes up after a strange piece of equipment scans his body and creates a green suit and mask on him. He looks around, not knowing where he is, but the guy doesn't freak out. He enjoys admiring himself until he notices a strange creature nearby. Tomar-Re, a recruit who looks like a fish. He is assigned to Hal to tell him about his new position and teach him everything he needs to know when he becomes a recruit. It turns out that Hal now knows how to fly and doesn't need a plane to do it. Together with Tomar-Re, he flies to see the planet O, home to the oldest race of guards. Fish shows the guy a source of green energy, which is created from the will of all living things and charges lanterns, rings, and even recruit suits. The guys arrive at a meeting held by Sinestro. The leader speaks of the danger and that by sticking together, the lanterns can defeat their worst enemy. Hal begins to be trained, but because he is human, everyone treats him with disdain and considers him the weakest link. The boy himself is ready to give up, though Tomar-Re argues that the ring could not be wrong, and if it chose Jordan, there must have been a reason for it. Hector Hammond is giving a lecture in high school, and he suddenly begins to think that the guy in the back row is shouting insults at him. The professor's eyes turn yellow, and he forces his thoughts to throw the young man to the floor. After he regains consciousness, the scientist finishes his lesson and leaves for his laboratory, where he immediately decides to have his own blood analyzed. Sinestro leads out troop after troop in an attempt to capture Parallax, and when another attempt fails, the leader comes to the guards again. They finally confess that the monster was once one of them, but after a quarrel that resulted from Parallax's desire to use not only his will, but also his fear, the Elder has separated and decided. Now he wants to personally rule the galaxy and subject everything to the yellow essence of fear. Hal attends a contract party where the entire elite of business and aviation are gathered. Carol and Hector Hammond are also present. The scientist quarrels with his father, and when he is about to fly away, Hector releases yellow rays, creating a disaster. Hal immediately puts on his green suit and rescues the official, causing amazement in the crowd. Thomas immediately realizes who the mysterious hero was and runs to his friend to find out the details. Hal doesn't pass up the opportunity and brags about his new costume and the fact that he is now a real superhero. In the same costume, Hal flies to Carol, and the girl immediately recognizes her ex-boyfriend. The guy takes his girlfriend on a date, flying around the city with her, and even leaves her a souvenir green pendant created with his powers. The government and Hector's father learn that the scientist became infected while examining the alien's body. They bring him to the lab and after giving him an injection, send him off for further study. But the yellow force proves too powerful. Hector easily frees himself from the iron shackles and destroys everyone in his path. Hal bursts into the laboratory and tries to cope with the monster, at the same time saving those who are still alive. A scuffle breaks out between the space heroes, but at some point Hector is stronger and the recruit fails to save the people. Hal arrives on Oa and asks the guards not to sacrifice Earth to save the galaxy. He promises to single-handedly defeat Parallax in exchange for his planet being saved. Sinestro realizes that the guy can't do it alone, but still lets him try. The hero arrives at the hangar and sees that Hector has put Carol to sleep by holding a syringe of a yellow substance around her neck. Jordan tries to convince the scientist to free the girl by promising him a green ring in return, but Hector hopes to trick the hero. While the men are figuring things out, Parallax covers everything with his tentacles and destroys his servant, who has not lived up to the monster's hopes. Hal returns the ring and carries Carol away. Watching as the monster takes over the town, the guy decides to get him away, even though it might take his life. Jordan rises above the sky, luring Parallax behind him. Once in space, he tries every possible way to defeat the monster, but nothing comes out. After living for billions of years, the monster has gained unprecedented strength. Then the guy sees the only way out to bring Parallax close to the sun so that he burns up. Everything turns out the way Hal had planned, except for one thing: the force of gravity pulls him to the fireball, and having spent all his strength on the fight, he cannot resist it. To the hero's aid come his new friends Sinestro and Recruit Fish. They pull the boy out with the whips and bring him to his senses. On the planet O, all the recruits are reassembled, declaring the only Earthling a true hero. Sinestro smilingly tells the lad that Abin Sur has found a lantern as careless and willful as he was. Back on Earth, Hal renews his relationship with Carol, who continues to marvel at his buddy's new abilities. Now, standing on the balcony, the girl can watch not only the stars, but also how Jordan flies away to distant planets, leaving behind a green glow.